Hey guys, Poro here with another Worlds 2025 recap, this time for the first semifinals match between Gen G and KT. KT are undefeated up to this point, but I think their schedule has definitely been on the easier side, featuring wins against MKOI, Secret Whales, Top Esports, and CFO. On the flip side, Gen G, who are the tournament favorites, had a much tougher schedule that featured a banger loss against AL before defeating T1 in a blowout, and then winning a dominant best of 5 against HLE in quarterfinals. I predicted a clean sweep for Gen G in this one 3-0, let's see what happens. Game 1 actually ended up being a KT win, and already my prediction has gone south. Gen G were in a position to win this game multiple times, but I felt like the two carries really struggled to perform in this one. Right off the bat, Cuz goes for a gank onto the Talia, and Chovy flashes in a line directly with the Jarvan EQ and gets knocked up anyway, which results in him losing flash and being killed, granting a free early lane phase to the Yone. With 3 pushing lanes now, KT would easily stack the first 2 Drakes. Dom gets caught once bot lane, and Peter overextends on Herald to grant Gen G that objective too, but for the most part, the threat of the Soul Point is still what's on everyone's mind at the moment. So far up in the game, Gen G have done a good job neutralizing the Yone. Before every objective, they've managed to get BDD to use a defensive ult, and he has yet to cast one in an actual teamfight. At the 3rd Drake, Gen G would take their first large lead of the game. Vi starts the Drake, but turns it off to engage onto Cuz, and Duro would find a great flash double knockup off of this which would combo with the Talia shove to win Gen G the fight. They've stopped the Drake stacking and they have a 2k gold lead, so despite the early mistake from Chovy, they're back in the driver's seat. Peter whiffs an ult on Otacon, and with the primary engage tool of KT down, Gen G are easily able to claim the Otacon. At the 4th Drake fight, the standoff is looking fairly even. Canyon and Ruler are chunked slightly, but they have the redemption to heal up and it looks to be a straight up 5v5. However, watch Chovy here. He walks directly onto a trap. I don't know if he was looking somewhere else, but he literally just steps directly into a trap with no pressure or anything, and KT immediately throw 3 ultimates at the Talia to win the fight and get Soul Point. This is quite frankly a horrible int from Chovy, nothing else to say there. At 27 minutes, Gen G see an angle to start a fight. Yone is currently top, so everyone on Gen G decide to full send it for the fight in bot side jungle with a temporary 4v5 advantage, and the fight goes super well for them. Perfect is in a pretty bad spot and gets one shot, and the Yone at this point doesn't have the damage to help out once he gets there. An aggressive flash from Chovy gives Gen G the edge on the back half of the teamfight, and they go 4 for 1 as they claim the Baron buff. With a now 5k gold lead, Gen G look to take full control of the next Drake spawning, and Keen has a great knockup on the Jarvan through Fog of War to get another fight kicked off. At this point, Gen G should turn for the Drake, but they get a bit antsy and keep pushing forwards. They get Nico Flash, which is really good, but then Canyon ults the Caitlyn under tower and it's officially too deep. Peter hits a solid zoning ult to section Vi off from the rest of the team, and he then lands a root onto Ruler which BDD capitalizes on with a flash ult of his own to take down the Rakan and chunk the Corki hard. Gen G actually start to win out the extended fight due to the Talia, but Ruler sells the fight hard again by valking forwards right into a Yone knockup. Somehow, someway, with Canyon's respawn being much further behind Cuz's, KT grab the Mountain Soul and are back in the game. KT and Gen G square up to do a Baron dance, and at first it seems like KT are taking control of the space, but Canyon has a great flank here and uses it to one-shot the Rumble. KT try to defend, but they don't have nearly enough damage, and Gen G take the Baron with a 4 for 2 teamfight win. On the Baron push, Chovy would screw up yet again. For what it's worth, I do like the angle to go in from BDD. He's guaranteed to get at least some kind of positive trade here regardless, but Chovy ends up picking the wrong resource to burn. Talia should have time to flash here, but she uses Zhonya's instead and gets Caitlyn trapped, and KT managed to kill 2 people. With this lead out of nowhere, they get themselves full position over the Elder Drake and take it easily with their Caitlyn trap setup. They turn their Elder into a Baron, and their Baron push is actually really well executed as they break into the base and get the job done easily, winning game 1. I think KT played fairly solid in this one, but nothing special. Perfect had some good equalizers, BDD found his moments well, and everyone else was fairly inoffensive, but the main story here was Chovy and Ruler making big mistakes in the important teamfights, which allowed KT to have any chance to recover the lead and mount a comeback. I think based on what I saw macro-wise though, I still have to favor Gen G in the series. Game 2 was a punchback from Gen G, but I'm going to be honest, it didn't look as clean to me as I'm used to Gen G being. Right away though, we get BDD having a similar incident to Chovy from Game 1 where he got ganked, but flashes in a pretty ugly way and immediately dies. However, we do get some crazy action way faster, as KT make the call to send 4 people over to fight for the first Drake. Peter plays this fight super well. He initially gets engaged on by Duro, but he waits for Canyon to also jump on him before using the knockup, and then he knocks back the Galio as Chovy went for the taunt. This advantage is more than enough for KT to take over the fight, and they win it 4 for 2 despite Gen G initially securing the dragon. KT immediately throw this advantage back though, as Peter goes in topside while Canyon is on Grubs to try to find some kind of pick on the Gen.G bot lane, but Canyon just pulls off of the Grubs for the counter gank, and Ruler ends up with 2 kills, including a massive shutdown. I don't know if Peter and Cuz just thought they would win any fight with their lead, but either way, the game is now in prime position for Ruler to carry. Gen.G would immediately prove this, as the next fight was on the Rift Herald. Peter and Cuz dive in with their combo, but it looks really slow from Cuz as Duro is able to flash out, and now with their main cooldowns gone, Ruler can shift forwards all he wants, and Gen.G start to slow chase it. A good hook from Duro extends the play, and Ruler ends up grabbing a triple kill. The game appears to be going business as usual, with the next Drake easily going Gen.G's way, but they would then throw it back a bit. Duro is caught out going for a ward, and Ruler and Canyon walk forward to try to save the Nautilus despite neither solo laner being anywhere near. Ruler shifts forward into the middle of 3 people to grab a kill, but is immediately one-shot, and it's now KT with the gold lead. The 4th Drake teamfight is actually Ruler playing a pretty poor fight once again, as he used his flash aggressively onto BDD and was immediately caught by Perfect. Luckily for Gen.G, Keen steps up big in this teamfight and manages to damage control the situation, and when the dust settles, KT picked up the Drake and the teamfight went 4 for 4. Now it's time for Gen.G to try to outplay with objectives. They get the Otacon for free off of a good setup, and when given a good opportunity, Gen.G start up the Baron with all members of KT alive. They trade Xin Zhao ult for Alistar ult with the Baron posture, and now it's time for the 5th Drake fight. This fight is very short-lived though, as Duro and Ruler catch out the no ult Alistar, and KT instantly have to give over the Drake. With Alistar still respawning, Gen.G made the call to go for yet another Baron start, but this one was pretty messy. They try turning onto Perfect, but it looks pretty ugly and they get nothing for it. Then, Cuz goes into the pit to attempt to steal the Baron, which is now at 2.5k health, but Canyon walks back over and wins the smite fight against the Qiyana to secure Gen.G the Baron. Once again, Gen.G walk away with the advantage, but not in the clean way I'm used to seeing from this team. From here, KT basically roll over and die. Gen.G get the Ocean Soul for free from the map pressure, and Gen.G swiftly win another teamfight to get a second Baron, which they use to walk it in and end the game. With how Gen.G are playing, I think maybe KT have a chance. While there are still flashes of the team Gen.G are, they're also making a lot of mistakes. Their teamfights haven't been crisp, the objective turns all look mediocre at best, and other than Keen, the other players on the team have all made a few pretty bad decisions so far. Game 4 was a KT stomp. I'm telling you, Gen.G are playing off today. They are absolutely beatable right now, and KT proved it. So right off the bat, we got Dom Ashe. I've been gassing up this guy's Ashe all year. I think he's absolutely the best Ashe player in the world, and I love watching him play it. That said, he, nor anyone else, really needed to do anything special to win this one. This game was just a bunch of silly mistakes from Gen.G. I don't want to call it too early, but I feel like we might be watching Chovy get in his own head in real time. He's playing Orianna into Azir and actually losing the straight up 1v1 lane, going down in CS and losing push. This is not normal at all, I want to make that very clear. Then, when second Drake spawned and KT wanted to go for it, BDD used the Shurima Shuffle to try to pick out Orianna. I think this is actually a bad decision from BDD. What should happen is that Chovy flashes it, and now Gen.G get the second Drake because they're down in Azir ult, and maybe you can kill Chovy later since he has no flash. Instead, Chovy fails his flash over the Azir ult and dies. I get that flashing over Azir ult isn't easy, but this is pretty unacceptable on this type of stage. Then, right after this, no ult no nothing, Chovy gets dry solo killed by BDD. Orianna went in for a trade and popped Phase Rush, but instead of running right away, he stuck around and BDD went in with the Q slow right as the Phase Rush expired and Chovy just dies. Then, BDD actually trades an int of his own by trying to shuffle Ori from out of turret topside, and he gets shockwaved under tower and dies. For the record, I think both mid laners are playing pretty badly at this point, but Chovy just happens to be playing much worse. Then, Gen.G make a crazy uncharacteristically bad mistake on Rift Herald. With Azir teleport up and Ori teleport down, everyone on Gen.G actually commit forward to contest the Herald, and to the surprise of nobody, it goes terribly. Keen gets 1v1'd by the Cassante, and with Duro using his E into a Poppy W, Dom sees the moment to go in and he opens up on Gen.G as they try to run away. KT pick up 3 more kills, and while I hate to call it here, this game is literally over in my eyes. As long as KT don't throw, nothing else any of the 10 players do in this game actually matters anymore. For the record, I have no hope in KT obviously. I would never dare to think highly of KT for any instant. Clearly Gen.G will turn it around in games 4 and 5 and take the series, and we can pretend like none of this ever happened as KT go out in semis, right guys? But on a serious note, I felt in games 1 and 2, and I feel it even more now, that Gen.G are literally just playing badly. Obviously not actually badly, but they're not playing well, that's for sure. I haven't seen Gen.G look this messy in a long time. Even when they lost to KT in playoffs, at least Ruler and Duro were doing well. So far in this one, even both Ruler and Duro are making a lot of mistakes, and even Keen played this one out poorly after a strong first 2. Holy moly, they actually did it. We got Peter and Perfect in Worlds Grand Finals before GTA 6. Before I talk about it more, let's go over the game. The first time anything really happened in this one was Grubs. Chovy is doing a decent job zoning and stalling, but I really like how Peter and BDD played out this situation. Peter does a good job forcing his way in, knowing the Callista ult is there to back him up, and he and BDD pair their ults together nicely to win the fight. I feel like it's kind of weird for Ruler to ult like this since he's guaranteed stunned off of it basically, but either way, KT end up getting the better of Gen G in this one. Somehow though, Ruler manages to barely survive the Callista Rend and the game is still even. At second Drake, Gen G initially have control over the space, and they managed to secure the objective even through a decent Renata ult, but that's because Cuz had his eyes on the fight the whole time, and KT looked to kill a few members. Perfect almost has a montage moment as he flash ults over the Skarner ult to set up a huge E, which he promptly misses, but it's good enough anyway for KT to go forward and chase down 2 kills. The next fight on the Herald is where the game would take its biggest momentum shift. It's a 5v5, and I absolutely hate the way Gen G play it. Duro flash engages the Cassio, but BDD easily shrugs it off, and Gen G literally just lose 3 people. You can't really engage like this into a Cassio Renata Ornn, it will almost never go well. Once again, Gen G's objective fights are simply terrible this series. Gen G start up a Desperation Otacon to try to claw the game back, but Perfect and BDD both play out the situation very well, and 2 more members on Gen G are killed as KT grab the Otacon and Soul Point. At the Soul, KT pick up this one relatively for free, as Gen G decide to play for the fight and try to one-shot the Ornn. Perfect doesn't even go down though as he flashes over the wall, and now Gen G have nothing to do. With the power of the Soul, KT start up the Baron, and while Gen G show up to contest, the turn from KT is great. Cassio flash ult into Ornn knockup, and Callista has more than enough damage to pick up some quick kills. KT now have the Baron buff, Soul, and a 6k gold lead, but Gen G managed to struggle a bit with the Anivia stalling power, so we're heading to Elder Drake. At this Elder, it actually gets pretty dicey somehow. Chovy is getting a lot of value out of the Anivia, and Peter whiffs his ult entirely. Gen G are actually gaining control of the space, and it looks like it might be a pure 50-50 flip, but it's BDD and Peter again with the save. BDD lands a nice ult to zone the entire enemy team, and Peter hits Skarner with his Q to knock him out of smite range. KT take the Elder, and the series is over. I know people will get excited about KT initially, as the fact that they've managed to topple the favorites after going undefeated in Swiss and quarters is super impressive. However, I do think the expectations have to be lowered just a tad. KT played very well today, and everyone definitely showed up to play. Peter was playing like himself, Perfect was doing his job, Docdom was able to get his champions, and BDD and Cuz had some really great individual games. However, to me, it looked like I was watching what KT's realistic ceiling was domestically, and I don't think they leveled up a bunch or anything. What I really think happened was that Gen G just had a massive collapse and choked it super hard. Keen had a great first 2 games, but his games 3 and 4 were pretty terrible. Canyon was invisible all series, Chovy and Duro were both picking their moments super poorly, and even Ruler in the 14-kill Ezreal game looked very shaky to me with his lead. Gen G as a unit could not figure out how to pull together a half-decent objective setup or teamfight, and all of the players were making uncharacteristic mistakes that made me think they were in their own heads. Very bad showing from them, and they make yet another semifinals exit. I'm somewhat mixed on this result. I do wish we could have seen Gen G actually play up to their potential for once, since I love seeing high-quality League, but I'm also not complaining about KT being in Grand Finals either, since I do like this team a fair bit. The idea of Telecom Wars in 2025 Internationals is also a pretty crazy narrative, so that would be super fun to see. Speaking of Telecom Wars, let's do my prediction for tomorrow, and this one will be quick. I have T1 3-0 over Top Esports. If Top Esports play to their actual level, they can totally win, it's not out of the question. But we've seen Top Esports brutally choke against every LCK team so far, and pairing that with their international history makes me have literally zero faith in them. No analysis here, I just don't believe in Top Esports to get it done, especially after how T1 handled AL. That's all I have for you for this one. I recently started a Patreon for people who want to support me more while I'm making these videos. I have 3 tiers, each with varying amounts of benefits, including different types of behind the scenes content, and even a custom Poro drawing that I'll display in video outros. If that interests you, check out the Patreon link in the description. I'll see you all for the next one. Bye!